Given that I've spent a fair amount of time in Diani, Malindi, Mombasa, and Nairobi, I felt that now was the right time to share my impressions of Kenya. Yes, I'm moving to Kenya at the end of the month, and there will be so much more to explore and learn. But I wanted to share my honest feedback now of what I expected to find in Kenya and what surprised me. Keep in mind that I've always considered myself as woke, but Kenya has me thinking that I'm woke-ish and that I have more work to do. I'm gonna share with you 4 things that surprised me about Kenya, and stick around for number 2 because I've only ever told that story to 3 people and now I'm telling the internet. Wait, isn't this a story? I think I need that robe. Let's get into it. Number 1, what it feels like being the only non-African in spaces when traveling away from the coast. I pride myself in being woke, as mentioned in the intro, so I welcome all types of diversity and inclusion. This is one of the reasons I felt Africa would be a great fit for me. However, I quickly realized that there's a big difference living in America being open to black people versus being immersed in a majority black country as a non-black person. It's easy to be woke in the US because 99% of the time, I'm part of the majority. I'm technically Arab, but I fully understand and expect that I'm seen as white. So I'm not gonna pretend that I'm some sort of minority in the US, even though I'm always randomly checked at the airport after they see that I'm born in Lebanon. So when I traveled away from the coast to spend time in Nairobi, I was in the minority group. It was novel at first, but with each passing day, I became more conscious of my race. In the US, as you may expect, I never think of my race. I just wake up and live my life without any reminders that things are centered around people that look like me. But in Kenya, I found myself looking around to see if there's other white folks present. I even resorted to counting the number of white folks I found. At no point was I concerned about my safety, but I became race conscious for the first time in my life. I had this weird feeling of looking for more representation. Was I at ease? Yes, but there was this new dynamic that started to occupy some of my brain power. It really was interesting. I'm curious about the stages that I'm gonna go through when I make the move to Kenya in a couple weeks. Will this conscious sense of self eventually just fade away? I guess this means that I have to step up my Swahili game. That will surely make me feel like I belong. Sawa sawa. However, I'm not too sure how I'm gonna blend in walking around the city as a Mzungu with a Dalmatian. Number 2, what's up with men peeing, relieving themselves on the side of the road without getting arrested? I can't begin to tell you about the volume of sightings of men peeing on the side of the road in broad daylight. Really? One day at the beach, a local told me not to rest my stuff against the rocks in a particular area along the shore, because that was essentially the area where the men would relieve themselves. Of all the things I've witnessed in Kenya, this by far was the biggest shocker. This one will take some getting used to. To illustrate to you how much of a culture shock this is, let me share a story with you from some years ago. Again, I've only ever told 3 people about this, so listen carefully. One weekend afternoon, I was relaxing with my friends at a bar while throwing back a few beers and watching a game. If any of you are beer drinkers, you know that after a while, the beers go in and quickly have to come out the other end. It had gotten to the point that I was going to the bathroom perhaps every 20 minutes. As soon as it was time to go, I got up to go to the bathroom one last time. I came back to the table, chugged my remaining quarter bottle of beer, and said goodbye to my friends. Once outside the bar, I felt that I probably had to relieve myself one last time, but there was a line outside the bar with folks waiting to get in, and I didn't want to be bothered. Besides, I lived within walking distance of the bar, about 19 minutes away. The bar was located on the outskirts of the suburbs. This meant that I would need to walk through a few suburban neighborhoods to get home. I started my walk home, and I figured that if I put some pace into my steps, I could probably shave off 4 minutes. So that means I only need to hold it in for another 15 minutes. A few minutes into my walk, my bladder sent some urgent signals to my brain indicating that I needed to pee very, very soon. Keep in mind that I was walking through the suburbs where it's illegal to pee on someone's property. So my only choice now was to significantly pick up my cadence and do a run walk. I quickly transitioned to doing a full-on I gotta pee dance. I had no choice in this moment but to begin a jog, but it wasn't helping. I concluded that if I relieved just a little bit of the pressure, that I could make it home safely. Don't judge. So what does this bright fella decide to do? While in full stride, I let out a little bit of pee, just to relieve a little bit of pressure. Well, as it turns out, once I started squirting, the floodgates opened and there was no way to close them again. It was full on Noah's Ark. I am now literally peeing myself in public. The front of my pants is soaked with pee and I still have about 4 minutes to go. I continue running and peeing and running and peeing. It finally stopped. And I'm just a mess at this point. I just wanted to get home. I am now concerned that there's no way that I can make it up into my apartment without someone recognizing that this adult man just pissed his pants. Luckily, an opening between the cracked fence of my apartment had not been repaired. I squeezed through the opening in the fence and made it up to my apartment complex. I ran up the stairs and as luck would have it, I was able to enter my apartment without running into any of my neighbors. I'm guessing that the gods were on my side that day. I guess the good news is that this situation would never occur in Kenya because there's always a tree nearby. I can't believe that I just shared this closely guarded secret with the world. Now you know my darkest secrets. We're all family now. Alright, let's take it down a bit now. Wait, what number was I on? Okay, number 3. The state of the supermarkets on the coast. Not gonna lie, I expected the supermarkets to be severely lacking. After selecting Kenya's coast, my only 2 concerns were internet speed and the ability to shop for good food. In my other video, you know how the internet situation turned out. I expected the restaurants and the hotels to be on point because the coast is a tourist destination, and that was the case. However, for my long-term stay, I knew that I wouldn't be eating out every day and that at some point I needed to go food shopping. When I hit up Navis, the first time I went to Malindi to grocery shop, I was blown away, meaning that it was just what I'm used to in the US. I played it off to my family that it was just what I was expecting. But I was surprised. This is where Western media failed me and I didn't do my research. I have images of feed the children of Africa and help the starving villagers of Africa. Those are the only messages being pushed. It's even part of the American vernacular for parents to tell a child who's refusing to eat, you better eat your food because there are children starving in Africa, to imply that they are privileged to have the food when others don't. I'm aware that there are many areas in Kenya where there are food security issues, but my overarching point is that I consider myself to be one of the good guys, and I too fell for the false narratives about food in general in Kenya. Now you know why this channel is dedicated to opening the hearts and minds of Americans about Kenya and broader Africa. Number 4, the cool temperatures in Nairobi surprised me. It didn't occur to me that I would experience cool temperatures in the capital. I've seen documentaries of Kipchoge and other runners in Iten and Kaptagat, which is over 8,000 feet above sea level. I knew that it was cold as they often wore cold weather gear on runs. However, I failed to make the connection to Nairobi. For context, New York City and Boston are 33 feet and 141 feet above sea level. As it turns out, Nairobi is close to 6,000 feet above sea level. So it all makes sense. But I've never seen any Western media that depicts the variability of temperature between Nairobi and the coast. Just so you know, most Americans think that Africa is just one big country and everything's the same. I love that I continue to learn so much about Kenya and that I get to share the little nuggets that I discover with others who are new to the Kenya game. One unfortunate miss for me is that Kipchoge is going to be running the Boston Marathon next month, and I will miss the opportunity to see him run by me as a spectator because I would have already made the move to Kenya. I think Kipchoge is ducking me. What do you think? I've been known to make the occasional sprint. You should have seen how fast I was running when I was peeing my pants. This wraps up today's video. I hope you had a great time listening to my musings. Normally, I would say, go out and share this video, but given the secrets spilled, maybe just share it with your closest friends. So take care everyone, and be good to each other.